What's up, everybody? Tyson Rouse. Let's talk Jets. Hope everybody is doing excellent and you're enjoying your summer. The Jets reported for training camp today, minus one person, pass rusher Hassan Reddick, which to me makes absolutely no sense on so many different levels. But before I get started, I find it wild to see fans absolutely thrashing Reddick. There's first of all, the NFL is a business, man. When you have no guaranteed money, this happens all the time. He's a very good player that once is here is going to make a big difference for his team. So to rip this guy right now, to me, is just wild. And also be careful what you believe, because not everything you read is true, but we'll go through the whole timeline here. So way back when in the offseason, when the Jets decided to not retain Bryce Huff and re-sign him, which I was against anyway, they had to go out and get another pass rusher. As much faith you may have in Will McDonald taking a big step this year, you want 2 to 3 good pass rushers. But you also want a guy that's been proven, been there, done that, that can come up in a big spot. And Reddick filled that bill. So the Jets went out and traded. With the Eagles signed Huff. The Jets traded for Reddick, which caught us all by surprise. Then you see the compensation, a conditional 2026 third-round pick that could be a second-round pick. You're like, dude, sign me up for that. Great move. But the whole thing was he wanted a new contract, and the Eagles weren't willing to give him the money. They went in a different direction. But you knew at that point he wanted a new contract. So for me, when the Jets made the trade, my common sense thinking was, all right, they've talked to him. They know the numbers he wants. They figured they have enough parameters in place at that point with the trade that they'll get a deal done shortly thereafter that. And you see all the videos I've made, I kind of assume within the next couple of weeks to get a deal done, we all move on. Well, obviously that wasn't the case, because as time went on, he didn't show up for OTAs. He didn't show up for mandatory minicamp. Now, the initial story that was being reported was that the Jets spoke to Reddick, and he was okay playing under his current deal and was not worried about it to a contract until at the end of the season. And to me, right there, you call bullshit. Because there is no way in living hell if a player on the Eagles, a championship-level team, is going to be unhappy there if he's going to be, and with no guaranteed money, say, you know what, I'll bet on myself again after having, 51 sacks over the last 4 years, 27 sacks over the last 2 years, his last big contract as he turned 30 years old. You know what? Just because you're the Jets, I'm gonna take my non-guaranteed contract and play for you happily. That's not happening. So you knew that story wasn't true off the bat. And then all of a sudden today you find out, you know what? The Jets did offer him a contract, but he turned it down. So already the story's starting to change. And again, right now the Jets are controlling the narrative because Reddick and his agent aren't talking. The one thing he did say was, don't believe everything you read on the internet, especially when the stories are coming out that he's willing to play under his current deal. So the Jets offer him a contract. He says no. At that point there, before you make the trade, you got to figure out, okay, listen, what does this guy really want? If we're offering him short-term and he wants long-term, how do we meet in the middle? And you got to evaluate, what's the money being talked about here? Because you look about the money being talked about, you could get that money to Huff, first of all, but at what point is you have to think about today, this year and the future as well. You got a lot of guys to sign. So they go into OTAs, doesn't show up. Mandatory minicamp, now he's getting fined. Where you're like, all right, now it's getting serious where you're like, you know what? This guy is all business here, and we better figure something out. Now you go into training camp. Now he's being fined $50,000 a day that you can't even waive. You can't rescind that. So this is legitimate money coming out of his pocket until the deal gets done. And to me, I'm shocked we're at this point right now. I honestly can't believe it. Because why would you willingly trade for a player and initially knowing that you couldn't even meet his needs, his contract needs, and then now you're sweating this out. And now it's like, people are saying who has more leverage. Well, the Jets, I guess, have some leverage because he's under contract, and he's got no guaranteed money, so he's got to come in and do something, right? But that's not really true. The Jets have some leverage under contract. He has other leverage. He doesn't have to show up, but he can keep getting fined. So I don't know who has leverage here. The only thing I know is I completely blew that. It's just mind-numbing to me. To me, the answer now, I think at this point, is all about guaranteed money. You got to figure out a way to guarantee a lot of money this year to get him in the building and then work something out for next year. The problem is, will he accept that or not? I think at some point, the further along you get in the camp, I think he's going to have to cave in at some point because he's going to want to play and contribute, and he's going to want to make money, right? But I think it's just bizarre this is here. And now you think about the other things where he hasn't talked to Salah. He hasn't talked to CJ Mosley. So it's not like in years past where a player's holding out. He was actually a member of the Jets, and you're like, all right, at least he knows the defense. He doesn't know anything. Doesn't know the defense. Doesn't know his teammates. So now it's like you worry about him getting acclimated to the team, and then what kind of football shape is he in? And this is the one thing I worry about in situations like this is injuries, man. Like, everybody can be in great shape in the gym. It's the contact, it's the twitching, it's all these different things. It's just explosive movements, the burst, the contact, all that physicality. You worry about hamstring injuries, quad injuries, all these, especially for a guy that counts on his explosiveness. So I think this is a bizarre situation. You can question both sides. It's like the Jets keep saying that, he made a lot of promises to them. He reneged on them. And I'm sure that he's saying the same thing, where you promised these certain things, you didn't do that either. But if Connor Hughes is saying is true, where the Jets made him an offer and he turned it down, right there is your red flag. Like, you know what? Maybe we can't get this deal done. So something seems wrong. None of it really makes sense to me. But at this point, this is a win now year. You're all in, and the guy is on your team. You got to figure out a way to get this deal done much sooner rather than later. I'm not worried about it on July 23rd. I think that's today's date. You get into early August, it starts getting a little concerning. Be like, all right, what do we do here? You inherited a legitimate problem, and it's just gonna be ugly, right? So I'm just shocked. This is the first day of training camp, and this is what we're talking about. I still can't believe it.